Hi there, it's Gabriel Boat, SEO Manager at Hike SEO, and in this video we'll be talking about technical SEO and how to discover and fix SEO bottlenecks that might be holding you back from higher rankings and more organic traffic. So let's dive in. So what you'll learn in this video is what technical SEO is all about, why it's important for your overall SEO strategy, the anatomy of a web page and what actually makes up a web page when you browse it online, technical SEO hierarchy and the different levels of importance and aspects of technical SEO. This is important from a high level, so we'll describe exactly that. Site structure and navigation elements, crawling, loading, indexing elements, duplicate and thin content aspects, page loading speed, and other technical aspects that are really important for your overall SEO performance. So let's dive in. So what is technical SEO? Firstly, it's basically the process of optimizing a website's technical elements to improve its search engine ranking and visibility. So technical elements can be anything from the server to the actual code on the site, to how the code in the website is structured. All of these things, it's a whole system that fits together like a puzzle pieces to make sure that your website is both friendly for the users, but also for the search engines that will be discovering your pages. So it involves optimizing the back-end website infrastructure. So back-end meaning like the servers that the website is hosted on, and the code to make it easy for search engines to crawl, to index, and to understand the content on your site. So why is technical SEO important? Why is this a big topic that we need to discuss and you need to learn about? It basically improves the website crawlability. Without crawlability, the search engines won't be able to discover new pages on your site. It won't be able to actually then index it. And then without the good performance, the loading performance of your site and the indexing performance, you're just not going to get visible very well. So this is the foundation level. We need to make sure that the technical SEO is in place before the content side can actually perform. So it increases website security as well. Today with GDPR and data protections, it's very important to make sure data of your customers are protected, and improves mobile friendliness. Most of us use smartphones today browsing the web. I would say way more than 80%, even tablets, mobile tablets. It's really important that your website is optimized for mobile friendliness. Increases visibility, of course, because once your foundations are in place, search engines will be able to discover your website pages more, index them, and then you'll be more visible in front of the right audience. So there are three primary website elements we'll dive into, and each one kind of describes different aspects what makes up a web page. And that will help you understand some of these technical terminologies a bit better as we go through. So the first thing is HTML, what it says. So basically, HTML is short for Hypertext Markup Language, and it allows text to be more easily understood by browsers and search engines. It basically creates context around content. Because let's say we have some text on a page, browsers and servers and Google crawlers and whatnot, they won't know necessarily the importance of that text unless we create a hypertext markup language around specific pieces. So it tells the search engines, tells the computers, what is this text about? Not just the text itself, but let's say it's a heading, maybe it's a title, maybe this section is an important tip. It basically gives more context. The next thing is CSS, what it looks like. So CSS is short for Cascading Style Sheets, and it basically is a technology that allows styling of a website, like how it visually looks. And this is amazing because when you go on a site and you see the amazing fonts, the colors, how it's laid out, the different boxes and elements, that's CSS at work right there. So it determines how the HTML elements and fonts are rendered and even animated on the screen. So let's say you have a heading on your page, and CSS can basically determine how large that is, what color it is, what font it is, where it's placed, how it moves when you resize the window, all of these things. And third is JavaScript, how it behaves. So JavaScript is, again, another type of programming language, a scripting language, and it determines how elements on a website behave when a user interacts with them. This is the interaction layer. So when you're on a site and you click a button, chances are JavaScript has been used to initiate an action, either on the front end browser side or on the back end server side. So it determines what happens after you do that action. It can be also used for certain actions, displaying certain HTML and CSS snippets as well. So let's dive into the technical SEO hierarchy. And this is a quick image I grabbed from Search Engine Land. It basically shows you the importance of different aspects of the technical SEO. So at the very bottom, it's the crawlability of your site. That's really important. Without that, search engines or other bots can't discover your site at all. So you need to have it crawlable. Next thing is you need to have it indexable. Okay, and then you have accessibility, rankability, and clickability. Let's go through each one in a bit more detail. So crawlability is how easy it is for web crawlers to discover pages on your site. This is number one, as I said, because without that, they don't even know your site exists or the new pages that you created exist. Then it's indexability, so how well your pages are set up to be indexed in search engines. So they may be crawlable, but they may not be indexable, which means that they won't even show up in search engines. So that's the next stage. Next is accessibility, how well optimized your website is for user experience. Absolutely important because user experience is number one, especially in Google's eyes. And how easy it is to interact with and navigate on your website. So the first three layers, let me just show you here. The first three layers, crawlability, indexability, and accessibility. These basically can make or break your search engine visibility. So if you don't have those in place, forget the top two layers. Forget anything else because that's the core foundation. Next is rankability. So this has to do with content optimization, authority, credibility, and trustworthiness. So a lot of different factors here. So how rankable is that page on Google, for example, and how high will it rank for specific search terms? And then finally, we have clickability. This has to do with how engaging or sticky the content is to attract users to the website, the bounce rate, like how long they stick on a page before leaving, or how long do they stay and then check out other pages, and then time per session, how long are they on the site for when they discover your page. So all of these go hand in hand. So let's talk about the first section. So we're going to be talking about site structure and navigation and all the elements that relate to that. So this is one aspect of technical SEO. So how website pages are logically structured, meaning how are they arranged, how do they relate to each other, how the navigation is designed, so the menu bars and the different areas on their site. Maybe there's specific links that help navigate the user throughout the site. It determines user experience, but also how link equity is distributed. So when you get backlinks, when you get links from other third-party sites pointing back to your site, and it's a follow link, that means some of their authority rubs off and gets distributed to your domain or your page. And when it gets distributed to that page, if you have links going to other pages throughout your site, it gets distributed in that way. So just keeping it simple. Links within your site called internal links help to basically take that link equity and flow it to the right places in the right proportions. So on Hike platform, you can actually see the sitemap and how your site is currently structured. If you go to the page here where you select the pages to add to your sitemap, you'll see all the pages that Hike has crawled, and you can see how it's laid out at the moment. You can also go on the website itself and look at the different pages or the sitemap or things like that. But Hike makes it quite easy, and you can just add a page in the platform like that. So we want to have a shallow structure, but not flat structure. So let's talk about what that actually means. So a hierarchy of a page structure can be three things. It can be deep, so 4+ layers. When I mean layers, I mean like levels. I mean, it could be like level 1 is like yourwebsite.com/page. Okay, that could be level 1. Level 2 is /page/category. Level 3 is like /page/category/subcategory. And so we go deeper and deeper in the layers. So deep structures are 4+ layers deep. Shallow structures about 2 to 3 layers, where you see on most sites. And flat structures have just one layer. It's just the single one layer, one page deep. And so we want, on your site, we want shallow structures, ideally, because it makes it easy for search engines to discover these pages, but also easier to navigate, and also creates enough structure and logical organization to make it easy to navigate and for search engines to understand the content. So yeah, 2 to 3 layers of hierarchy is good. If you have a very small website, then flat structure is okay if you can't create a hierarchy. If you don't have enough topics or enough pages that relate to each other to create categories or subcategories, that's fine. You can choose a flat structure. But generally, if a website has 50 or 100 or 150 pages, then it could definitely be organized in a way that has 2 to 3 different layers of hierarchy. So let's talk about breadcrumbs. You might not be familiar with that term, but basically they're navigational structured link elements. And you see them a lot on e-commerce sites or blogs where you're on a blog article and then you see at the top there's a little navigation thing and you can see, oh, I'm in this category or this subcategory, and click to go above it, and then you can click to go on the homepage or whatnot. So that's breadcrumbs. So it basically helps users and also search engines to navigate through a hierarchical website page structure. It makes it easy to navigate. So it's common on blogs and e-commerce, like I said, but it also helps distribute link equity, like I mentioned earlier. So if that page has backlinks, it's going to basically transfer some of that link equity up to the category page. And then on that category page, it would transfer it up to the home page. And so it flows up to the higher level pages to help them rank better. So pagination is another key factor. So multiple pages for lists of articles, products, or other content types. You see this a lot on blogs, on e-commerce sites when you're clicking through the next page. That's pagination. And ideally, you have between 10 and 30 items per page. As you start increasing this, it gets too many in terms of from a technical resource point of view, but also users tend to keep scrolling too far down. So why is it important? Improves user experience, so it's easier for users to navigate through, let's say, a list of 10 to 30 items rather than 100 items on a page. It's faster page load times because there's less content for the server to load, for the browser to load each time. It improves crawlability and indexability because sometimes, a lot of the time, these search engine spiders or bots have a cutoff as to how many links they'll actually go through and follow. So it's good to reduce the number of items per page in that sense. Consistent URL structure. This is also important. So you want to make sure that your URLs include a page primary keyword in there. So it allows not only users, but also search engines to identify what the page is about before actually landing on the page. Reduce filler words like the, whatever, things like this. So it makes it more concise and to the point. Keeps the URLs short and descriptive so you understand what it's about, but you don't have to type in such a long sentence in the browser if you want to go there directly. Use dashes. to separate words, not underscores, dashes. Use lowercase letters, so don't use any uppercase letters in there. And eliminate any unnecessary file extensions. Depending on the platform you're on, sometimes if it's a more technical platform or it's custom coded, you might see extensions like .aspx or .php or .net or whatever at the end of that page. Generally, it's best practice to remove those just because it creates clutter, unnecessary clutter in the URLs. And then it also matches the page structure. It makes it more simple to navigate. Next is logically organized. So we want to make sure that the content on your site is organized in a way that's easy to understand. So group similar pages together into a content cluster, into a category or subcategory, however they relate to one another. And this gives context to search engines to understand the pages. It also helps users to navigate through similar content more efficiently. And it promotes internal linking. So if you have a category page which has, like, let's say 3 subcategories, and each subcategory has 5 pages, then you can link between them, and it makes it easy for users that land on that through search engines to discover these other pages, and also helps search engines to crawl through them a lot easier. So here's an example. So let's say we have 5 keywords that we found: get a motorcycle license, how to ride a motorcycle license process, how to get a license for a motorcycle, ride a motorcycle. So how would you cluster these together? Well, basically, I would organize it like this. Group 1, it's all to do with motorcycle licenses. Okay, so that's the topic that page would be about, or that group. And then group 2 would be about how to ride a motorcycle. So you always need to group similar topics together, so it could create a single page about that topic, or you could have multiple subclusters that could be like a category and lots of smaller pages underneath that. Easy for users to navigate. So basically, a website menu at the top or in the footer or on the side, they need to be structured ideally to match the structure of the pages that it's talking about. So you don't want to just have, let's say you have a 3 levels deep, like you got a category, subcategory in the pages. You don't want to suddenly have a menu that just lists the end pages. You want to have the categories, and then you hover over and it lists the subcategories, and then you hover over and it lists a few pages or the pages on there. So it makes it easy to discover. So category level pages might have sub menus to allow users to discover content within them. So this is also something that makes it easier. So if you go to, let's say, category page, then on near the top of the site, a sub menu might pop up and shows you the different subcategories that you can go to. So it makes it easier to navigate. So next section is crawling, loading, and indexing. So this is how efficient a website is designed for search engine bots to crawl, to explore, to find new pages. And website page loading speed is a large factor for crawlers, because if it's too slow, it's going to time out and the crawler won't actually load the page, or it might load partial page, or it's just going to move to the next one and skip it. So which pages are indexable by default and which ones are blocked? That basically is important, because if you block certain pages from being indexed, it's not going to show up in the search engines. So identifying issues in Google Search Console, so that's GSC for short. Page indexing report in Google Search Console. Use that to check for crawl errors if there are any. So this report shows you pages that Google was unable to crawl and preventing them from being indexed. So you need to go in your Google Search Console and actually go to this page indexing page and then see if there are any errors on your site. So here's a little example of couple hundred pages being indexed and some that haven't been indexed, either intentionally or unintentionally. So you can have a look at whether it was intentional or whether you actually blocked access for certain reasons. And here is basically how you would, another one is URL inspection tool. And this is how to check the status of a specific page. So if you, on the menu on the side, if you click on URL inspection at the top, there'll be a little search bar and you paste a URL in, and then you can see whether that page is indexable or it's blocked or whatnot. So crawl stats also shows you how often Google is crawling your site. And this is accessible by going to the settings, click on crawl stats or hover over it, and then it says open report. And you'll see something like this, and basically shows you like how many crawl requests there were, how much has been downloaded, the average response time, all the performance bits on your site. So crawling your website, Google will automatically crawl the website if it's like not blocked from public access. And Hike, if you have a Hike account, highly recommended. It will also crawl your site to flag up any SEO issues, any technical aspects that need attention and fixing. So definitely get a Hike account if you don't already have one. XML sitemaps. So this is an essential file if you want search engines to easily discover and crawl new, updated, or removed pages on your site. And it's an easy way for websites to keep a record of these pages and submit them to these search engines. So most CMS platforms like WordPress, Squarespace, Wix, they automatically create an XML sitemap and they update it automatically as you add pages, edit them, remove them, etc. So sitemap index pages, these are more like higher level, and they contain multiple sitemaps like page sitemaps, the blog sitemap, images sitemap. So basically it's a higher level and it contains all of them together. So you can submit these to your Google Search Console, and this will basically tell Google right away where they are and have them crawl it right away. So here's like an example on WordPress using the Yoast plugin. There's 3 sitemaps on here in the XML sitemap index file. You got the post sitemap, you got the page sitemap, and category sitemap. And when you click into each one, you can see all the pages that are listed there. So next is the robots.txt file. So this contains rules on how search engines should crawl your website. And it should link to your XML sitemap ideally. So when search crawlers are wanting to know how to crawl your site and looking at the rules, it can also locate your XML sitemap if you haven't already submitted it through Google Search Console. So rules can include which spiders are allowed, how quickly they can crawl, and which directories or pages they can or can't crawl. Internal linking. So these are links between pages on your site, and a very important aspect to technical SEO. It allows web crawlers to discover new pages and build a map basically of the relationships between the page topics. Specifically if you have like categories, subcategories, or topics that you link between each other, so it creates more context. And it also distributes page authority between these related pages as well, so it helps with your overall ranking for each of those pages. So also it helps users to discover new relevant content. So when you're on a page and you see a link to another page on that same site, and it's interesting, you click on it and you read that article, and then you go to the next one and the next one. So it helps you discover new pages, which is great. So the ideal rule of thumb here is aim for about 2 to 3 internal links minimum per page. It can be a lot more depending on how long that page is. If it's like a couple thousand words, then definitely have more internal links. And if you have breadcrumbs, like we discussed previously, they help also for linking up to parent pages. But make sure on those category pages to always link down to their subcategories or their child pages. And then on those pages, link across, so cross-linking between them as well on the same hierarchical level. So that makes for a robust internal linking strategy. Discovering and fixing dead links is very important. So dead link is basically a 404 error, a broken link, and it creates a negative user experience. So when you're browsing a page and you try to click something, it goes to oops, this page has not been found. And it's annoying because we want to find what we want to find and we didn't find it there. So basically you can fix them by creating a 301 permanent redirect to the next most relevant page. And this is important because you don't want to just redirect it to the home page. You want to find the most suitable next page that's the most relevant to the page that was there before. It could be up to the category page or up to the parent page, or maybe another page that's similar. You can use Google Search Console or Hike to flag up 404 errors, and then you can fix them just by doing a 301 redirect. You can use Google Analytics also to spot non-existing inbound backlinks. So let's say you've built up lots of backlinks, but you've changed your pages over the years. Those backlinks may not know that you've changed that, and they might be still pointing to the old page. So what you want to do is go to Google Analytics, look at what pages you're getting traffic from and which pages you're getting traffic to, and then you can see, oh, those pages don't actually exist anymore, and you can redirect that old page URL to a new one, and then you can basically reclaim lost traffic and wasted link equity, which is a fantastic, quick, easy win as well to boost your rankings. So another thing is fixing redirect chains. So basically this happens when redirected pages are redirected again and again and again. So let's say you had a page that you deleted, you redirected it to a new one, but that new one you deleted, and then you redirected that one to a new page. Now you have a redirect chain. It's multiple redirects. So for example, like page A redirected to page B, but then you redirected page B to page C, and now you have a chain. So you want to get rid of the middle pages. So why is this bad for SEO in the first place? It basically causes slightly lower page load times. It increases the server load. It creates a poor user experience because they're just redirected all over the place. Decreases crawl performance. Decreases the link equity because every time you redirect, there's a little less link equity that's distributed every time. So you're losing a bit every time. So what you want to do is you just cut out the redirects in the middle of the chain. So you would want to redirect page A to page C right away without that middle bit. Okay, next section is duplicate or thin content. So this is Google's goal is to provide the highest quality user experience, and duplicate or thin content actually ruins that, and you'll discover why in a bit. So what you want to do is serve high quality content. And what does that mean? It means unique, useful, and original content. So I highlighted two words here, unique and original, meaning they shouldn't be duplicate, and they shouldn't, be not useful, which means if you just have a few words on a page and doesn't solve the issue or doesn't explain the answer, that's basically too thin. It's not enough content, not enough context for the user to feel like they got value. So you want to provide value to the user, and duplicate content are pages that have the same, like exactly the same or highly similar content. It might be a page that's basically talks about the same topic but in a slightly different way, but it doesn't really add any additional value to the user. Whereas thin content are pages that have minimal to no content on there. It's just either blank or maybe just a line or two that doesn't really say much or whatnot. For example, like category pages or products that have no descriptions on them, that's thin content. So what we want to do is have one unique topic per page. And that's a rule that is important to remember. So ask yourself when you're creating a new page, do I already have a page or an article that talks about this topic? All right. If not, great, then create that page and write about it. If you do, is it unique enough to warrant its own page? Is it specific enough in terms of the topic that it's different from the other page? Okay. So we want to avoid keyword cannibalization. This is when you have two pages that are either exactly the same or very similar, talking about the same thing, and Google is wondering, which one do I return to the search engine for this keyword? Do I do this one, page A, or page B? And it's confused. It doesn't know which one's the one. So, and then what happens is sometimes it swaps out in the search engines, and it just creates lots of confusion, and that's called keyword cannibalization, where the keywords compete with each other, almost eat each other in the search engines. So here's an example where you have 3 pages, page A, B, and C, and what you can use is canonical tags, and this tells Google which of the duplicate pages to return in the search results while ignoring the rest. You can only have one canonical. So out of like a set of, let's say 3, let's say you say page B is the page you want Google to return for this topic or for this keyword. And so you make page B the canonical. So page A would have a little snippet of code that says page B is canonical. Page C would also have that code, and page B would have a canonical to itself. So that's how you do that. So it helps avoid duplicate content issues, such as www or non-www URLs. So you might have a site that can load both the www or the non-www versions, and that is a technical duplicate issue because a user will see the exact same content, but from a search engine point of view, they're 2 separate pages. So you might have like example.com loading, but www.example.com also loads. So Google sees 2 separate pages, doesn't know which one to return. Trailing slashes. So this is when you have a page and you can add multiple slashes to the end. It still loads the page, doesn't look any different to the end user, but again, it creates multiple pages. HTTP versus HTTPS URLs. So if you have a secure or unsecure link and both load at the same time, again, duplicate content issue. Unintended parameters. So you might have like a question mark, something like parameters at the end of the URL that doesn't really change the content. But again, it's a completely new URL, which means Google sees it as a separate duplicate page. Next is no index pages. So you can add a no index tag on the pages that should not show up in search results. And you can do that, basically add that in your SEO bit. Let's say you have Yoast SEO or Rank Math on WordPress or any other platform, you can no index a page. And this means you don't want that showing in Google. So, but don't use this as a substitute for canonical tags. So you have 3 pages and you no index page A and no index page C because you want page B to show up. Don't use that. Use canonicals instead for that. This is more for pages like admin pages or pages you don't want the public to go to or find. That's what no index is for. Avoid thin content. So every page should have some unique, useful content on it, even if it's navigational. Even if it's just like 100 to 150 words describing what the page is about, what to do next, etc. That's great because it creates a positive user experience. It directs the user maybe to the next page or the next step or whatnot. So always avoid thin content or empty pages. So it also helps users navigate through the website more easily, helps search engine to understand the pages, what they're about. That's why you don't want thin content on your site. So page loading speed. This is the speed at which a website page loads. So it could be 1 second, it could be 5 seconds. The slower it is, the worse it is for the user and also for crawlers. So you want it as quickly as possible. So it's important for user experience, but also web crawlers, which may actually time out if it takes too long to load and skip those pages, which means it's not going to crawl them and those pages won't get indexed. You can use Google Page Speed Insights tool, completely free. Just go to that URL and put in your website or specific page, and it will tell you how quickly it loads and what improvements to make. Optimizing images. So make sure your images are in web-friendly file formats such as JPEG, or ideally next-gen formats like WebP, which are extremely compressed and small and can load it really quickly. Make sure images are resized to fit the purpose on the page. So you don't want like an extremely high resolution image if you're only loading it in a small square. So you want to make sure that it's fit for purpose. You resize it before you upload it. And then make sure that the width and height attributes are defined to avoid layout shifting issues. So when you load a page, sometimes you notice it like loads and it jumps and the content jumps down. That's because some of these elements, especially images, don't have a width and height element and will only show that once the image itself loads. And that causes bad user experience. So optimizing page size, review the image optimization like we just discussed. Also review third-party scripts or unnecessary or unused plugins if you use WordPress, because those just slow down your page loading. So if you use WordPress, use W3 Cache or a similar like caching plugin, and that speeds up the loading of your site as well. Use a content delivery network or a CDN. So your website basically will get distributed over multiple servers around the world. So wherever you are, it's going to load the fastest version of your site, and it will improve the loading speed. It will optimize the media on your site and increases the overall security of your site as well. So for managed platforms like Wix, Squarespace, WordPress.com, they already have this built into their systems. But if you have like a self-hosted site or your own custom platform, then you may need to get a content delivery network just to speed up the loading. Reducing third-party scripts. Remember this rule, less scripts equals faster loading times. So you want to be highly selective, ideally combine functionalities into one platform and one plugin. And you can use a tag manager like Google Tag Manager to allow you to easily manage the scripts from one place. So you make sure that you don't overclutter it or add too many scripts, because that will just slow down the loading of your site as well. So let's talk about some other technical SEO aspects that you can check out. The hreflang tags for international websites. So if you have content that targets different countries and or different languages, then hreflang needs to be in place. So this is important because it lets search engines know what language or country or both your content is intended for. So it shows in the right search engines for the right audience. It also prevents duplicate content issues, especially if you have slightly different content, like a page written for the US audience in English versus a page intended for the UK audience, also in English, but different audience, different spellings, etc. 404 links. So again, we talked about that earlier, but broken or dead links are a no-go. We want to make sure those are all fixed. These are pages that don't exist or have been removed. It creates a negative experience for the user, so we want to redirect those to the next most relevant page. Structured data. This is information about information. So it's basically a form. It depends on the type of structured data. Some are HTML, some are different formats. But basically, it tells search engines what a piece of information is about. Let's say you have star ratings, and it tells search engines this is a star rating. Or if you have a review, this is a review, etc. It gives more information. And the purpose is that allows that info to be pulled directly into the search engines for enhanced results, also known as rich snippets. So when you search something, you'll see the little images, you'll see the star ratings right in the search engine results pages. And that makes it much more interactive and engaging for users to find your content. So there's different types of structured data, such as schema.org, open graph tags, JSON, LD, and a host of other ones. So depending on your technical requirements, you can speak to your developer or your platform. You can choose which one is best. But generally speaking, schema.org is a good starting point, and it will go from there. Open graph tags are generally for social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, etc., just so you can see what information to display on there when you share a link. XML sitemap validation. So let's say you have custom created a XML sitemap. So this part isn't really for the CMS platforms that automatically create one. It's more for if you have a platform and you had to generate an XML sitemap, you want to make sure that it follows the requirements and make sure you validate it. So this URL, you can go to that and check if your XML sitemap is correct, and then it'll tell you what to fix. No index the tag and category pages in WordPress or any other major CMS. So what happens here is when you have tags and categories, these platforms automatically create a new dedicated page for that. And generally they don't have any information on there. And this just creates unnecessary clutter and doesn't really give any use for the end user other than going on there and maybe discovering a few other articles. So generally speaking, this is optional. You can use basically plugins like Rank Math or Yoast SEO on WordPress to no index these pages and then clean up the search engine results pages so they don't show these. Because sometimes if you were to land on it without knowing about the site, it doesn't really tell you much. It just shows you a list of blogs, articles that are categorized or tagged with that. Generally speaking, they're not really that user-friendly, so ideally just no index them. Page experience signals. So these are specific aspects of a website that directly affect the user experience. So, for example, interstitials like pop-ups that pop up without you clicking on anything. These are annoying. They take away from the overall experience. So avoid those. Make sure your page is mobile friendly. Use SSL, so secure connection. Make sure you have a certificate for that. And then in Hike, technical SEO issues will get flagged in your actions. So they'll show up in on-site actions, sometimes a bit in the local SEO actions. So you want to go into Hike and make sure if you don't have an account, create one right now, because Hike will make it super easy and automatically flag technical SEO issues on your site. And then you can go in and follow the step-by-steps in the time that you have available during the week to fix those. So if you have any other questions, do let me know. Otherwise, check out hikeseo.co, create an account, and start discovering and fixing your technical SEO issues on your site for better rankings and more organic traffic. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Take care.